window. And the third image is someone that actually
Thanks, James. Okay, so my talk, welcome to wherever you are. Somebody correctly guessed yesterday this is actually a title to a Bon Jovi song. I do have a habit of basing talks around random song titles, but anyway, that's what that one's about. So, quick introduction. My name is Paula Kennedy. As James said, I work at Pivotal. I lead a team of people that help customers run our software. I'm also involved in a few different meetups. So James mentioned Coed that we co-organise together. I was lucky enough to help Anne a little bit with the Coed Ethics Conference that we did last year. I also have my own meetup group called LOPUG, which is the London Platform User Group. But the one I want to talk a little bit more about today is DevOps Days. So I am a co-organiser for DevOps Days London since 2017. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as a conference, our efforts to try to make it diverse and welcoming, and what's worked and what hasn't worked and what we're still trying to figure out. So I'll start with a story. So once upon a time, there was a lovely lady with brightly coloured hair that lived in a faraway land. Let's call her Bridget. And she decided that she wanted to bring some hapless folks together from London to come up with a wonderful event. And so she gathered this group of people together and suggested that we might all work to create an event. And so we met in a pub in London and decided, yes, we were going to organise DevOps Days London 2017. So we started trying to think about what we wanted our version of DevOps Days to look like. And this was the kind of the overarching theme we came up with. And then the six of us sat in the pub and started brainstorming ideas. What did that really mean for us? We wanted to create an event that was accessible, that was inclusive, that was diverse, and particularly that was welcoming. So those were the themes that went through our minds, and we tried to then apply them to every decision we took when it came to planning for DevOps Days London. Our starting point was choosing a venue. Now, James mentioned this morning that trying to find an accessible venue is quite hard. We ended up choosing the QE2 Centre in London for a few different reasons. For one, it has accessibility information all over its website, which was an instant appeal for us. It's also right in the heart of London. Probably many of you have been there. There's lots of conferences that run there. It's right next to Westminster. It's also a great venue for visitors to London because you have some lovely views, apart from when Big Ben's covered in scaffolding. But generally, you get some really nice views of London. So we chose that as our venue. The one thing is it's extremely expensive. For DevOps Days, those who don't know about DevOps Days, it's run by volunteers. So we have to raise sponsorship to be able to cover all of the costs. And that venue is quite expensive. But we decided it was worth it for all of the benefits around accessibility. The next step, we put out the CFP, and we asked people to submit their proposals. And we were trying to have a kind of a broad range of topics. For those of you that have maybe not been to a DevOps Days event, it typically is a mixture of culture and technology, and it's always about trying to find the right balance. So we tried to find a mixture of talks that would appeal to a broad audience, and tried to have speakers on stage that were, slightly more diverse. Then we tried to think about attendees. So we reached out to lots of other community groups, and we offered discounts for tickets. We offered some free tickets. We were trying to make our event open and welcoming to as many different people as we could. The next step was to think about our code of conduct. So we put the code of conduct up on the website, and then for each person who was buying a ticket, they had to explicitly check a box to say that they had read and that they would abide by the code of conduct. And then we moved on to thinking about the event itself. We thought about the food and the drink. This was the best photograph I could find. But we tried to make sure that we had all kind of dietary requirements covered. So we had food options, really good food options for vegan, for gluten-free. We tried to make sure we had a really good range of soft drinks as well as alcoholic drinks. And we were trying to, again, appeal to as many people as we could. We relabeled the toilets in the QE2 Centre to try to make them all gender. We offered free childcare for the full day for both days. So we were hoping that people with young children would be able to come. We also had live captioning, which was fantastic. And it was really good to have that for all the reasons that were talked about yesterday. Captioning is beneficial for many people. And these are some photographs from the events. This is 2017. We all had a very nice time. Lots of good feedback, lots of positive responses on Twitter, everybody having fun. It was fantastic, right? So we all enjoyed ourselves and then said, oh, it was a lot of hard work though, we probably won't do that again. And then suddenly the pain faded and the thought was like, well, maybe. So we decided we'd do it again for 2018. So this is the expanded group of organisers and some of our volunteers as well. So for 2018, we thought, right, we had a good time in 2017. We're going to try and keep all the good things that we had. So the good venue, the good food, the good drink options, and we're going to try and make 2018 even better. So we thought, we got together and we're like, what can we do better this year that we didn't have in 2017? So when we put out the CFP, we tried to go through an anonymization process, which James mentioned yesterday he hasn't tried with Monki Gras yet. We tried it. So one of our organisers, Bob Walker, he wrote actually kind of a blog about how he did it. But for the organising committee, we got a list of talks, we got the abstracts, and we didn't have names, we didn't know who. We also didn't know the company, and we didn't know the product, which sounds really good. And what we were aiming for was to remove bias from our talk selection. What made it slightly tricky is that the anonymization process basically went through, and every time there was product, it just replaced the name with product. And every time there was a company name, it replaced it with company. So then you get very confusing abstracts that says, X person from company is going to talk about product and how product makes something better, and it made it slightly confusing. But we were really aiming to try to remove the bias from our selection process. So this was our lineup for 2018. Again, we tried to have a nice broad range of talks. We had some talks about neurodiversity, we had talks about self-care, and then we had talks about AWS features and the complications around distributed systems. So again, trying to have a balance of culture and technology. And that was our great speaker lineup. Another thing we experimented with from 2017 to 2018 was other ways to try and make our audience more diverse. So with our tickets, we created 2 new types of ticket for 2018. We created supporter tickets, where anybody could buy a ticket for somebody else, essentially. It was a way of subsidizing so that we could give away more free tickets. And we offered free tickets for people who identified as underrepresented or unwaged. And it was self-select. You didn't have to prove it. You didn't have to apply for it. You literally just could go on our website and choose to pay $0 for a ticket, with the hope that that would remove even more barriers for people so that they could come and attend. Another iteration that we did was, as well as already having the code of conduct on our website, as well as making people check it, every day for 2018, it's a 2-day conference for those who haven't been, but for each day, we projected the code of conduct, the summary, on the main screen, and Bob, who was our MC, read it out very explicitly every day, called it out to make it front of mind for all of the attendees. We also had a sign language interpreter for 2018. So again, a kind of an iteration on from the captioning, we also wanted to have someone doing sign language there. We also experimented then with name badges and lanyards. So we had a few different options for when you registered. The first thing that attendees could choose was the color of the lanyard, and that indicated whether you were happy to have your photograph taken or not. We then offered pronoun stickers, which again, James mentioned yesterday. Our intent with the pronoun stickers was to make it very normal for everybody just to choose and display how they want to be addressed. That was all. We wanted it to be no big deal, and we encouraged everybody just to select a sticker or more than one sticker. It was very kind of open. And the last choice we gave people was a communication sticker. So you could choose whether you were happy to talk to anyone, whether you wanted to be the person to initiate conversation, or if you didn't want to talk to anybody. And again, it was open for everybody to choose. It did make the registration process slightly complicated, which I'll get into in just a minute, but this is what we did in 2018. One piece of feedback we got from 2017, we ran a retrospective at the end of the event 2017, and one piece of feedback we got was that even though we had a quiet room, it wasn't publicized enough. People didn't really know about it. So for 2018, we tried to make the signage a bit bigger and make it more obvious that if people wanted a space to just go and be quiet and reflect, that there was a space for that. And this is how 2018 turned out. Again, we had a lot of fun. There was quite a lot of glitter and sparkles. It was a lovely event. Again, we got lots of positive feedback. So that all sounds awesome, right? What on earth could possibly go wrong when you're running an event? Well, it wasn't all perfect. There was a few things that went wrong, despite our good intentions. So, we had a slight problem with pronoun stickers. Now, I take full responsibility because I was on the reception desk, and somehow, I think I'm in a bit of an echo chamber where I assume that everybody understands the intent, and that's not actually the case. So we had some challenges where we had these very lovely volunteers who were, again, there. They weren't being paid. They were there to help. The problem was that they would give the pronoun stickers to the people just by looking at them. So someone would come in and they would automatically choose a he or a she, which was not awesome, to be honest. Once we realized, obviously, we apologized. We apologized on Twitter, and then we apologized on stage to the whole audience. And we talked to the volunteer team and tried to explain the purpose. So it was one of the cases where our intent was good, but the execution maybe wasn't ideal. We had our lovely sign language interpreter on the stage, and then our MC, there was a question around whether anybody was benefiting, and so our MC asked verbally, is anybody like need the sign language interpreter? Which A, didn't really work because he just asked it, and also it was a bit of then othering for people in the room, so we apologized again. So it was, like I say, our intent was there, but it just didn't come off quite in the execution. So those were some of the things that really didn't go well, and we were all trying our very best, but it just wasn't great. Anyway, let me get into some data, because people love data, right? I tried to do some analysis from our 2 events to have a look at all these efforts that we're doing. Are they actually working or not? So 2017, we had nearly 300. This is kind of speakers, sponsors. This is all the people in the room. We had nearly 300 people in 2017. 2018, we went over 400. So that's good, because people must have enjoyed themselves so much in 2017, they told their friends, and then they all came in 2018. So we were pleased with that. The things that were slightly more sad, we had only 3 requests for childcare in 2017, and the same in 2018. And we had it regardless there for the 2 days, but it wasn't well known, or somehow we hadn't publicized it. Someone who I heard on Twitter this week had suggested that they didn't know that it existed, so it was a shame because it was there regardless. And we requested on the form when you ask for a ticket any additional accessibility needs. And in 2017, one person asked for a quiet room, which we had. 2018, we had one request again, and we had someone ask just that they be allowed to leave whenever they wanted, which was completely fine. So I also tried to do some analysis on the audience, which is kind of tricky because we don't gather data. Somebody mentioned yesterday that why would you gather like information about gender or ethnicity? Like, what's the purpose? And we don't. When we ask people to buy a ticket, there's no form to complete because we don't, people come. They can come. We don't care. But when you're then trying to measure your impact, it's sort of hard to know if you don't have data. So these numbers are very much of a guess by me because I went through and just looked at some of the names and tried to roughly estimate. So these aren't precise. But what was interesting is that we had an increase of attendees from 2017 to 2018. But despite all of our efforts of really trying to be open, welcoming, accessible, the percentage didn't really increase. We still ended up with 77% presenting male, and the remainder is not male, let's say. It was good that the metric didn't go down, despite the fact that we had, if you count the actual numbers, we therefore had more non-identifying as male people showing up on 2018, which is fantastic. But it would be so nice if we had gotten closer to 50-50 or even higher. I mean, I know one of the speakers mentioned yesterday that here at Monki Gras, the split is very good, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic to feel like there's so many different people in the room. It's a thing that we're really striving for in DevOpsDays London. It's just, we're not there yet, as the numbers show. And this is only a measure by gender. I didn't even try to go through on any other metric because, like I say, I only had people's names. It was harder to do the analysis. So, suckers that we are, we're doing it again in 2019 because, what else could go wrong? We intend to try and do better. I mean, we're constantly trying to improve. So, specifically, we want to try to reach out to a larger number of groups, and I'm really looking for help from the audience here. If you've got suggestions, if you can pass on the details. We're running the event, the same venue, QE2. It's the 26th and 27th of September. And if you've got ideas about how we can get more audience members to join or how we can make it more open, I'd love to hear them. We do really want to try to make more noise somehow about our options for people to come. So the childcare, for example, we want people to know it. Like, it will be there. We will have those options. So we just want people to know so they can take advantage of them. We definitely want to try and fix some of the things that went wrong last year. And we're going to still keep doing the things that we think were good. So that's our intent. So what do I want you to take away from my talk today? If I go right back to the beginning and think about what we were aiming to do when we started in 2017, these were really our key themes. This is what we wanted to do. If I take a step back and think, why? Well, we've heard a lot yesterday and today about the benefits of accessibility for everybody. Diversity is the same. Like, having a diverse range of voices is so important. It's important for all of us. If we all come together as one group and we all look the same and we're from the same background and we have the same kind of face, we're in an echo chamber and we're not learning and we're not having new ideas, we're not innovating. It's so important. As James mentioned, this stuff is actually really hard. And as you sort of maybe understood from my talk, even when you try so hard with such good intent, it can still go horribly wrong. So you won't always get everything right if you're organizing an event or a meetup or a conference, but it's really, really worth the effort. Thank you very much.
Enjoy.